So the secret of life. What is the secret of life? He's just given you a lot of answers, right? But what is the secret of life? For me, the secret of life is recognizing the divinity within and really living from that place. So today, I'm going to start with a question. And the question is this: is God natural? Is God natural? Or have we been nurtured into a belief about God? Today's one of those heavy question days. I mean, that's a heavy question. Is God natural, or have we been nurtured into a belief about God? We're all here, right? So on some level, we all believe in something beyond the physical body, beyond the self. We believe in something. Now, in this particular philosophy, we do not say that that something is a man sitting on a cloud. I don't think any philosophy really says that. But it's the idea that comes up, right? You say God, and many people will automatically go to this picture of a man with a long white beard sitting on a cloud passing judgment on humanity. So is God natural, or have we been nurtured into this belief? And then I have to ask the question, does it really matter? Does it really matter? We're here. We exist. What more do we need to know? What more do we need to know? Well, there must be some reason we exist, and I think that's why many people tend to come to religion or a spiritual philosophy or whatever. We're looking for answers to the big questions. Why are we here? Why do we exist? What is the purpose? What is the secret of life? Big questions. Has any particular philosophy ever truly answered those questions? No, it's why we're still here, searching for the answers. Now, the great news is, because we are all individualized spirits, we are all unique, the answer which is right for us, I will say, is the answer which is right for us. So the answer which is right for you is the answer which is right for you. And that's a really important distinction between this spiritual philosophy and many other spiritual philosophies. I will never tell you what to think. What I'm here to do is to help you learn how to think, so that you can live the most extraordinary life you can. That's what I have been charged to do in my calling to be a science of mind minister, a religious science minister, or whatever you want to, a new thought minister, whatever you want to call it. That's what I've been charged to do. Ernest Holmes now I normally quote the big book, The Science of Mind. Today I'm quoting a smaller book, Living the Science of Mind, which I have been asked to do an ongoing workshop around that book, and I'm considering it. So I've got so much I'm doing. And I do it all happily, but I can only do one class at a time. But in Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes, "No one can find God for us. Each individual must do this for him or herself." Now, this is a very important thing, he writes. We cannot find God outside the self because we cannot go outside the self. We cannot find God outside the self because we cannot go outside the self. There is no place where we begin and God leaves off. We can only find God within ourselves. So each and every one of us has our own concept of how this energy is expressing through the world, and it is completely unique and individual to us, and that's brilliant. It's brilliant because you know what? God expresses infinitely. There are an infinite number of ways that God can express, so there is no right answer. This philosophy is the answer which works for me. And I suspect for many of you, since I see you here every week, this philosophy works for you because of what it teaches, because it teaches you how to think. So that's why I stand up here every week when he writes, we can only find God within ourselves. That's why I can stand up here and look you in the eyes and say, you are God. You are God. That's the truth. You are God. Because how can you find God outside the self? But today I really want you to take note of that phrase, that statement, you are God, and really consider what that means. The implications of this recognition and unification with this divine presence, this divine energy that is all things. See, this is the other part that people don't necessarily want to hear. You are God, and so is this wall. So is this book. So is the water. Everything is God. So what sets you apart? What makes you distinct and unique? The deep understanding that you are that which is. You are self-aware. That's what makes us unique as expressions of the divine. The book is not aware that it is a book. It does not have that consciousness that I know of, right? I don't know. The book may be conscious of itself. I've never seen any proof of it. But when you learn how to think from this particular place, from the understanding that you are that which is, you are the divine energy, then you can live your life with the conviction of God, not a conviction in God. Which means that everything that you say, everything that you do, everything you believe is of God. So again, I'm going to ask you the question I started with. Is God natural? Is God natural? So to answer this for myself, and I can only really answer for myself, you will all come up with your own answers. I would say yes, God is natural. And yes, I am in a room full of people who basically subscribe to a similar idea, most of you. Now, if I were to go out on the street and ask, what do you think? Is God natural? What do you think about God? What is God? Do you believe in God? If I were to ask just any person on the street, what do you think the answer is going to be? Majority of answers would be probably one direction or the other. So I started thinking about that. I thought, well, that would be an interesting thing to do, wouldn't it? Go out there and really just ask the question. So what is God? What is God to you? So then I thought, well, I can't really do that before this talk since I do typically write my talks at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That would be a lot of research to do. And I still have to be here for the music rehearsal. And I've got people that I need to meet with. So that wasn't an option. So there I was sitting at Starbucks, where I write all my talks. I have moved to a new Starbucks, by the way. Now that I don't have my car, it's a little bit more of a jaunt to get to the Starbucks on Lakeshore, so I've now gone to the one over on Queen Street, just this side of Woodbine. In case anybody, well, no, don't show up, because then I'll engage you in conversation and I'll never get my talk written. So there I am sitting at Starbucks, thinking, well, how do I answer this question? So I went to the utmost authority of all things online. Not Google. Wikipedia. Now, Wikipedia can, there are a number of things that you could look at Wikipedia and say, well, this can be disproven, right? But I actually looked at something that does have a reference. It's referencing the 2001 census by Statistics Canada. And in Wikipedia, it basically says 16.6% of the residents of Toronto identify as non-religious. 16.6% identify as non-religious. So that leaves 83.4% of the population of Toronto who subscribe to a religion. So I'm assuming if they subscribe to a religion, they must believe in God, whatever that means to them, right? And it's interesting that in the delineation, it's 16.6% who identify as non-religious, which does not mean atheist. So who among that percentage believe in God, but they don't identify with a religion? So it's there's a pretty large number of people in this community that believe in God. Is it a fluke that an overwhelming majority of people believe in God? Is that a fluke? Is it mass delusion? Some people would say yes. I ask the question because obviously there is something. That's what those statistics tell me. That we all believe there is something. You know, I believed in something. I believed in something long before I ever discovered this philosophy. And what drew me to this philosophy, you all know the story of how I showed up. You know, I was doing a play in a theater that was also a New Thought church. And this is how I came to be a minister. So I'm standing in the lobby talking to the now Reverend Janet Kingsley and saying, you know, I'm single, yada, 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 all the typical small talk. And she says, oh, there's this really, really nice guy that you should meet. He comes to our service here on a Sunday. And of course, I'm like, oh, religion, no, not for me. But finally I said, fine, I'll meet this guy. And so I show up at a Sunday service. And boy, was I bowled over. Because here I am sitting in service. The guy was great, but we didn't hit it off. But here I am sitting in a service, hearing exactly what I've always believed, but never knew there was an organization or a philosophy out there that subscribed to the same ideas. And all of a sudden I'm going, whoa. I've always believed in God. I've always believed that there was something. I'd never really thought there was something, you know, the judgment God does not work for me, but there has to be something. And so here I am finding out on a Sunday, this is in line with what I already believed to be true. This, you know, and here's the other interesting thing. You know, I don't believe in kismet. I don't believe in fate. We don't teach that within this philosophy, but there was something that was always pushing me in this direction, in the direction of this particular philosophy. It would show up and I would go to a job. You know, I was doing a lot of temp work when I was working as an actor in LA. I would go to a job and somebody would say, hey, have you ever heard of agape? Reverend Michael Beckwith? I'm like, yeah, that sounds really great. Not for me. Because of this idea that I had that religion was somehow bad, that ascribing to an organization that believed it had all the answers was a bad thing, right? Well, that was just me saying, It wasn't until I had to be literally sat down in front of a science of mind minister being told the things I already believed about myself. And again, you hear me say it every week, I don't say this is the truth for everyone. This is what works for me. If something else works for you, fantastic. All paths to God are the right path to God. I believe that. So within 6 months of that initial service that I sat down in, I had decided to become a minister and started my studies right then. 7 years later, here I am in front of you, telling you whatever you need to hear, I suppose. So what appealed to me within this philosophy? What appealed to me was that there is no outside God, that the power lies within. There is a principle which I choose to live in. This principle I choose to live in is a principle that all things are good, that this energy is an energy for good. This energy is an energy which unfolds perfectly at all times for the highest good of all man and womankind, for all of humanity. This is what I believe. And also what I believe is that there is a divine energy. I call it divine energy. I call it spirit. I call it infinite intelligence. I call it God. I call it whatever I need to call it in any given situation so that I can become more attuned to that which is within, allowing that to express through me. So there is an interesting chapter in Living the Science of Mind, basically is asking the question, why do we use the word God so much? And this is what Ernest Holmes has to say about that. When we use the word God or spirit, we use them interchangeably, we mean the intelligent life principle which the philosopher calls reality. And what all religions mean when they refer to that something in the universe which responds to our consciousness. That something which responds to our consciousness. So if I break it down, we're saying God is the intelligent life principle that responds to our consciousness. Intelligent, having the ability to acquire and apply knowledge. Life, the inner something that makes everything animated, that makes us who we are. The one thing that sets us apart from anything else, you know. Again, is this living? We don't think it is, but the very same things that make up this wall are the same things that make us up, right? If you break it down and break it down and break it down, we are all made of the same stuff. So in that sense, the wall is living. Whether it has conscious awareness, again, I don't know, just like the book, who knows? And principle, intelligent life principle, the principle, a truth which is unchangeable. We say this is a principle, so it is unchangeable. So Ernest Holmes is describing God as this animated, inner, changeless truth that has the ability to acquire and apply knowledge. That's how I take that. An animated, inner, changeless truth that has the ability to acquire and apply knowledge. And note, never once in there does he say that God is separate from the self. God is who and what we are. And he also makes a very important distinction. God is what all religions mean when they refer to that something in the universe which responds to our consciousness. All religions teach this, that there is something out there. Many of them say it's out there. And it is out there, but it's also in here, because it's all there is. There is something beyond the self that responds to our consciousness. It's the very nature of this thing called God. The very nature of God is to respond to consciousness. And that's the nurture part of this talk. So everything that preceded this is how I have come to the understanding that God is natural. We all, the majority of our population, believes in God, believes in this animating energy. So for me, that's perfectly natural. So the nurture part is God exists, and I begin with this premise. Our concept of God is nurture. Our concept, our idea. We have been nurtured into an idea of how to conceptualize this thing which is infinite and real. It is without form except through us, because we are form, but it is beyond form. So we are nurtured into an idea of how to talk about God. The Catholic priest has a very specific belief about the nature of God and about what that means to him. I wish I could say him or her, but at the time I can't. A Muslim has a very specific belief about the nature of God. The Hindu has a very specific belief about the nature of God. The religious scientist the New Thought practitioner, we have a very specific belief about the nature of God. So I ask you, what belief are you nurturing? What belief are you nurturing? Do you nurture the idea that God is passing judgment? No, not anymore. Did you at one time? Are you nurturing the idea that God is displeased with you? Do you nurture the idea that God causes bad things to happen? Do you nurture the idea that God is something that the self, to which the self must be supplicated? Or do you hold to the idea that God simply is? God is. So, this may be hard to hear, but God is passing judgment on you, to the degree which you pass judgment upon yourself. God is displeased with you, to the degree that you are displeased with yourself. God does cause bad things to happen, to the degree that you allow bad things to happen in your experience. God is something to which the self must be supplicated, to the degree that you believe that to be true. I hold to the idea that God simply is. And the choices we make in life, see, there it is. Oh, there you are. The choices we make in life are how we nurture this grand vision, this grand idea of being the divine in all things. God is nurtured through you. So one of the things, I put it up on Facebook this week, and I can't tell, like, this got so much response this week. I wrote, happiness is our natural state of being. Happiness is our natural state of being. It is not a choice. Can you believe that? The choice is whether or not we decide to live according to our natural state of being. You have the choice in life, and that's a great gift that we all have. We have choice in life. But our natural state of being is to be happy. Our natural state of being is beating. That's our natural state of being. Oh, sometimes Freudian slips, let me tell you, they're so much fun. Our natural state of being is happiness, peace, joy, love, wisdom, beauty, power. Those are things that are natural. Those are the attributes of God. And you are at choice whether or not you want to accept them and live from that place. Because you can choose the other side of that, right? Many people do that. It's not the way I want to live. God is, and you are. God is nurtured through you. God is experiencing life through you. So this brought to mind this song, which I almost called and said, I did say, I got here today, I said, so I really considered like going and getting a chart for this song and seeing if we could throw it in at the last minute in service, and the fear and terror that I was faced with about that, mostly my own fear and terror of like, no, I can't do that to them. It made me think of this song that was referenced in a talk that was given by my friend Mark Wyrick. I don't know if Mark ever watches, but maybe he does. He was actually in ministerial school with me. He opted not to pursue the ministerial path ultimately. But he did give a talk in service once based on a song called Children Will Listen, which is from a musical. Yes, I was a musical theater actor. And the lyrics are so science of mind. They are so science of mind. Careful of the things you say, children will listen. Careful of the things you do, children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn to learn how to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. It's a very profound lyric because take the word children out and put in the word spirit. Because we need to treat our mind, which is spirit, the exact same way we would treat a child. Careful the things you say, spirit will listen. Careful the things you do, spirit will see and learn. Spirit, this is where it kind of gets sketchy, right? Spirit may not obey. Well, spirit always obeys. Spirit will listen and act accordingly. Spirit will look to you for which way to turn. This goes back to choice. We live lives of choice. And so every choice we make demonstrates in our experience based on that choice, based on the belief behind that choice. So it is very important to be careful before you say, listen to me, and decide that you know everything. I will never stand up here and say, I know everything. I know what I know, and I'm constantly looking for new things to know. The tale you tell is nurturing the divine within you. The tale you tell is nurturing the divine within you. I actually gave a bit of homework last week to the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success class, asking them to be acutely aware of the stories that they tell in their lives. Because the story you are telling is what is going to demonstrate in your experience, because that story is backed by a belief. You have decided that this is the truth, and that's what's going to play out. So be consciously aware of the story you're telling. Are you telling the story about how broke you are all the time? Are you telling the story about how things are not going very well for you? Are you telling the story about how your relationship or relationships are not what you want them to be? Because the more you tell that story, the more spirit is listening and acting accordingly. You must be acutely aware of the stories you are telling because they are backed by a belief. The great news is the stories you are telling are backed by a belief. It is a great indicator of what your beliefs are. And if you need to change the belief so that you can live a more extraordinary life, you are then aware of it, you can make the change. No one can find God for us. Each individual must do this for himself or herself. We cannot find God outside the self because we cannot go outside the self. There is no place where God begins, where we begin and God leaves off. We can only find God within ourselves. That's the very nature of God. When we use the word God or spirit, we mean the intelligent life principle which the philosopher calls reality, and what all religions mean when they refer to that something in the universe which responds to our consciousness. The responding to our consciousness is the nurture. Nature or nurture. Nature and nurture. Your very nature is nurtured by the thoughts you put into it. So remember, in all things, spirit will listen. The law of cause and effect will act accordingly. Something is always listening and reacting to your thought and belief. That is the nature of God. So nurture it wisely. Namaste.